Hello, my name is Ayanda. Welcome to this month's Yepathon. This is number 4, 5, I think number 4 of my Oversharing series where I tell you too much about things that you probably can do without, and that is my life. That is just me. So, welcome to today's video. I hope that you are a returning subscriber. If you're new, you're still welcome. Just make sure that you click the subscribe button and you check out my other videos. So, you guys, I need to tell you about my struggles. So, I am challenging myself. In fact, since the year started, I've been challenging myself to upload regularly on YouTube and other platforms. And it's been a hit on my confidence. It is challenging me in ways that I didn't expect to be challenged, which I don't know why I expected it to be easy, but my confidence has been severely impacted by me uploading regularly because week by week I have this thing where I have to come to terms with the fact that I don't do as well as I thought I would do, but also the fact that I don't enjoy feeling like a failure. And I've always been a confident person. And I'm realizing now that the way that I perceive myself and the way that I perceive my success or my failure is very important in how resilient I'll be in this journey. Well, with everything as well, because I've actually realized that yeah, ne? This is really gonna be oversharing. So you guys know how I've been struggling with my gym journey and just staying consistent with my workouts and da 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 da. I've also realized that my lack of discipline in some areas actually causes me to not be disciplined in other areas. So I promised myself to master discipline in some areas of my life, like this one particular area in terms of content creation. I want to be able to be consistent with that and do that and to be resilient with it. Just have this diligence that I don't think I've been able to have with other things. But I've noticed that when I don't feel confident with an area of my life, I tend to give up on it because I find myself failing more than I expect myself to fail, and I leave it alone. I leave it alone and I focus on the things that make me feel good and I feel confident in. So let's have that chat because your girl is going through it, but in the best way because this is the best way, right? This is constructive mko. Like I'm constructively falling apart. Like almost as if I'm going to rise and then I'm going to feel better about everything. Yo, I hope that's the case because this whole chat will look very funny in 2 years if I don't really get consistent. I was reading some research and some studies about how confidence impacts one's performance, and there's many studies, and the general understanding is that when one is confident in themselves they tend to perform better in that area. Like students, when the student is a generally positive person or confident person, they tend to also perform better in the studies. But they also indicated that there was another study, I think it was by Kansas University or something like that. They they found that even though women they were studying a group of research students, they found that even though some of the women were performing better academically in that field, their confidence levels were just low. And it reminded me of that saying of, it's not a saying actually, I think it's a saying, can be a saying because people say it a lot, which I also do, that I want to have the confidence of a mediocre white man. You see how they go through life thinking they deserve everything and they go for it. So that is what I'm trying to aim for. However, before I get there in terms of my day-to-day feelings, I thought to myself that I'm actually a confident person. I think I'm a confident person. I appear like a confident person. I am a confident person. Who am I trying to convince? But let me just say, I believe that I'm a confident person, but I think that as confident people or as a confident person, there's times where I feel too challenged to want to do anything. And this video is about that, to say that my confidence is very challenged at the moment and I'm wondering if I can make it, If I will make it, that is actually the chat. Sounds a bit too serious for a YouTube video, you know. Oh, I don't think I'm gonna make it as a YouTuber. This is not even me minimizing my challenges, but I don't want to also be one of those people that balloon their issues, you know. But I feel this is an important conversation to have because I'm realizing that I just generally lack discipline, even though I'm a confident person. Like I go very confidently into things, and then I just come crashing down so fast. So yeah, let us talk about how I've been confident and how that is crumbling because I'm editing videos weekly. That's very funny. Let's go. So, a big factor on how I've been able to be a confident individual in general has been because I believe myself to be an informed person. Like, I care for things in terms of the world, and I go out of my way to acquire knowledge and to understand things that I can do without, you know, because ignorance is bliss. And I love that about myself that I always want to acquire knowledge. And I also am someone that has always believed that I'm a fiction girl. But because of my love for knowledge, I read everything nonfiction, fiction, and even books that I frown upon. I find myself gravitating towards reading them because I want to understand, other than the reviews I've heard about this book or the views I have about the author, what is it exactly about this book that I disagree with? So I that gives me a lot of confidence. So I'd say that the first thing that has given me confidence is the knowledge that I am knowledgeable. I'm well read and I'm informed. So being informed helps a lot with confidence in general because you move through the world with the impression that you understand. You won't understand everything, but you understand. But also, being informed makes you realize that you won't understand everything. But the attempt boosts one's confidence because sometimes, like you read a book or you watch a documentary or you learn about a fact, and then you go into this rabbit hole, and then you suddenly feel like an expert. So it balloons one's sense of this is gonna sound but it it does make you feel like you are on some sort of better cloud because you're like, oh, I understand something better than I did the day before. And what I like about that as well is that when you're informed, sometimes it pushes you into wanting to do more. You don't just learn the information, but you actually actively try to do things that will enable that information to take place into the world. So sounds like a complicated thing, but it just essentially means you learn stuff and then you try to live your life like somebody that has learned stuff. And that has been a big confidence boost for me. But also, what that has done is that it has made me feel as though I have my own intellectual identity and I'm able to hold conversations and to exist in spaces that expect me to use my brain and to be creative in terms of how I contribute to discussions. But also, what that also does is that it enables people to gravitate towards me because it gives the impression that I have important things to say or people can learn from me. The danger with that is that it also puts you under pressure to always be in the know and to also have something to say, which is something that I sometimes struggle with because knowing something does not mean that you know the right thing, you know, or knowing something does not mean that you'd say the right thing. So it's a slippery slope, but it's a nice slope to be on because most of the time, especially for people that don't know, they never really know if you're saying the right thing or not. They're just glad that you said something that they couldn't say. And I'm not saying that you should weaponize that knowledge, but just to say that it's a good place to be in. And when you're humble, you are able to realize that you can still learn even though you know something. So, my first tip for people that want to be confident is to be informed. Whether it's to be informed about your field of work, about a specific hobby or a subject, or to just be informed about your area. Don't just move through the world blindly. So, that has been a huge confidence boost for me. But I'm realizing now that it's also it's something that prevents me from wanting to just try other things, because I want to remain in this bubble where I think I understand, I'm informed. And when I enter a space like YouTube where I have to learn to edit and I have to learn about sound and camera equipment, and I do that every week, and the result is not that of an informed person, at least by my standard. Because obviously also I have my favorite YouTubers and everything, and when I see their products, I think to myself, then and which is funny because those people are people that probably started where I started, or started at a better level because they were informed more than I was. But I almost berate myself for not being informed enough, because also the part about seeing yourself as someone that can learn things easily and someone that knows many things is that you get humbled when you enter spaces where you realize you don't know anything. And I think that's where most people fall. And I'm wondering if that would be the same for me. I'm understanding that, okay, this is not your forte, girl. I'm realizing that I don't also like the feeling of not knowing, or the feeling of learning from the beginning, because some things come naturally, or some things come at the back of others. Like when you learn about one subject, then the other subject is just on top of the other. So sometimes it almost seems like one subject or one book or one video or one documentary informs me of so many things. But with YouTubing in particular, I'm realizing that there's many components to it that I know nothing about. I don't like that. So, other than being informed, I found that something that makes me a confident person is that I know myself. And it sounds like such a complicated concept. Know yourself. When people complain that when they're at dates and they're asked, so who is Ayanda? And then you start glitching because you're like, oh my goodness, who am I? I've never thought about it. For me, knowing myself has less to do with me sounding educated and more to do with me being sure about who I am and the answer that I give. Who are you? Sometimes when people are asked, so who are you? Some are just like, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a friend. Because to them, what makes them them is the person they are to other people. That's a good answer. Nobody should ever make you feel as though how you define yourself is wrong. Obviously, unless the way you define yourself is self-deprecating, then people should probably tell you not to be mean to yourself. So knowing myself for me has more to do with my relationship with myself. Me understanding what I like, what I don't like, and in which environments I best perform. And I've actually realized that how I got to know myself actually was through many mistakes. I've noticed that from a young age up to now that I don't respond well to authority. So I don't yeah, so that's how I learned. I just looked at my patterns and I was like, why did I act that way there? Why did I act that way there? In fact, my Facebook bio actually says defy, disobey, disrupt, which were actually terms set by Comrade Mona. She's an author. I should probably put up her book somewhere here or here. You should check her out. She's so good, and she really hates patriarchy and the police and everything. I noticed this like 7 years ago, because I always speak about how I've always been a rebellious child, but I also realize now that I'm actually a very rebellious adult. I didn't change much. I speak English now with my rebellion, and then sometimes it's decorated. So I learned how to know myself by noticing my patterns and the things that were triggering me, or the things that were making me thrive. And I found that I thrived in places where I am able to think for myself and make decisions for myself. And how that helps with my confidence is that I become very self reliant, but also I become somebody that is sure of themselves. Whether I'm justified or not, or whether I'm right or not, I found that even in cases where I would be wrong, I, I'm fine with being wrong, because it's something that I would genuinely be believing in. And even when I learn later of how wrong I was, I'm also fine with being corrected, because at the time that I would have stood strong on my wrongness, I would have been informed. I would have convinced myself that whatever I was justifying in my head was correct. And then I learned later that, you know what, I could have handled it better, or I didn't have enough information to be standing on business. And I've noticed that when I have views, whether about myself or about other people, I really stand on them. And unless I receive information that proves that I shouldn't be standing on them, I'm going to be standing. So I'd say that what makes me confident is my stubbornness then. And which is funny, because I always say this to people when they say I'm stubborn. You know, one day, I think I was about 16, 17. My father and I were going through a lot of frictions, because I was in the stage where I was very self assured. And obviously, I was still a teenager, and my father still wanted that hold on me. And he was on the phone, and somebody asked him, "Well, so where's Ayanda?" And he said, "She's here, and she's honestly the most stubborn girl I've ever met." In fact, he didn't say girl, he said, "She is the most stubborn child I have ever met." And I remember thinking to myself, "You think I'm stubborn? Sir, have you met yourself?" So now I'm realizing that maybe my father was right. So now I know myself to be a stubborn person, meaning I also navigate my relationships with myself, but also with other people, with the understanding that I'm generally somebody that is not, I'm headstrong. So now I also move through the world with the self-assuredness of knowing that I'm not easily swayed. So it's a good and obviously a bad thing, because sometimes I would just be standing on a point that is unnecessary. But it's also something that has been able to build my confidence, because I know you'd have to talk to me. Let's talk. Tell me why I must change my mind, or tell me why I'm wrong, and then we'll see. So so just know yourself. That is my tip. And you don't have to convince yourself you're stubborn, or you don't have to stand on characteristics you feel are not benefiting you. Just understand what things make you feel good. Like when you take a decision, or when you speak, or when you're in spaces, what makes you feel good? Do you want to just stand in the corner and not speak to anyone? Maybe do that. You need to find things about yourself that, although some people can criticize, but should be things that you can appreciate about yourself, because those are things that are also going to help you stay resolute when things are shaking, like now, because my things are shaking and my confidence is shaking. But trust me, there's going to be a video every single week, even when things are shaking. I'm gonna speak even if my voice is shaking. So know yourself. And another thing I've also noticed is that I'm part of the reason I feel challenged by making videos is that I'm noticing that I'm very conscious about my appearance. I didn't expect that. And you know, sometimes when TV stars and YouTubers make big money and they do all of these changes to their bodies, I would just be sitting there thinking to myself, why? Oh, why you looked better when you didn't do that procedure. But now I'm noticing that I'm very, and I've never even received any comments about my appearance. Literally nobody has ever commented in one of my videos and went, "Wow, that t-shirt is so ugly. Where did you get it? Ooh, why don't you fix your nose?" None of that. And I'm imagining that had I been making content that was targeted at beauty and appearances, then I would be receiving those comments. You know, like if I came here one day and wanted to do something that is related to makeup or styling, because I actually do like clothes, even though I don't think I'd be a stylist. But I believe that people then would comment on my content a lot in respect to my appearance. But now nobody's saying anything about my appearance. But I would be editing a YouTube video and I'd be going, I don't like how my boobs look in that one. I don't like, you know. And I'm noticing that maybe also the discomfort of filming and editing is realizing that I look at myself a lot. And I'm reminded of that post where somebody was saying that part of the reason most people have body dysmorphia in this generation is that we're just always looking at ourselves. There's mirrors everywhere and there's selfie cameras, and those things just make you overly critical about things that, had you not been looking at yourself for 7 hours because you're editing a video, you wouldn't even notice that you don't like the way that your skin looks, or you know because sometimes I'll be filming a video and then there would be a stretch mark, and then I'd be like, should we post that? And then I have to remind myself that part of the reason I love some of the YouTubers or the content creators I love is because I can see them be people, and I can see them be women that are just women sometimes, and they don't exist for glamour. Because I also wouldn't want that for anyone, like for someone. Like sometimes when I watch a video and I sense that the creator is being harsh on themselves about their weight or about how their skin looks, I just want to grab them through the screen and just shake them and be like, hey, you are fine, you are one of the most beautiful girls I've ever seen, and if you dare say that about yourself one more time. But I'm noticing that I do that about myself, and which is rather unfortunate, but I'm also forcing myself to be in that space where I accept how I look. And I love how I look because I try to film with no makeup, and I don't try to interfere with my hair a lot because I'm aware of the beauty standards and what is expected. But I also want to find what beauty means to me and what that feel good moment is for me. So, yeah, this was just me. The sun is setting, and I can tell the light has changed as well. But this was just me sharing about how my confidence has dipped with this new career trajectory, and to also say to everyone that it's okay sometimes to mention that you think you are in your flop era, which I feel I'm in, but it's a nice flop era. Like I'm flopping and continuing. And I wish that for everyone. If you have any tips on how people can gain confidence and people can show up when they try things for the first time, please kindly share. I read all of the comments and I love all of them. And I especially like when the comments are long. There's these two people that every time I post a video, they come in with a long essay. Just want to say that I love you so much, and your comments tickle me to no end. I love them so much. Yeah. Did I overshare too much? Maybe, but that's just me. Thank you for joining me in my Ep4. I love you and have a good Sunday.